Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
I'm in a great mood.
Yeah.
Look, there are some weaknesses with this indictment. There are some legal defenses that Trump has. I'm sure we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
But the idea that we should be sad that this, career criminal is finally facing the first, hopefully not the last, better not be the last,
Yeah.
Charges in his entire criminal life, that does not make me sad.
Yeah. Well, and you said that. You said if you think Bragg has a weak case, then Trump should beat it, and that should be your white wing talking point. As you say. Let the process play out. Our MAGA king will beat the rap. That's the rule of law. Take.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's how this is supposed to go. You don't have to threaten the prosecutor's wife, okay?
Right.
You don't have to threaten the judge. You don't have to do all of these usual right-wing authoritarian MAGA crap. You can just say there's been a charge. We believe our guy is innocent and we will see you in court. Trump has legit, and the thing that I don't like about the indictment is that as opposed to other indictments that I hope are coming,
Yeah.
Trump has some legitimate legal defenses here, right? A lot of times when we deal with Trump and the law, what we're talking about is that he'll say something, but it'll be like a wackadoodle crazy person argument that like only Alan Dershowitz and Jonathan Turley are like, yes, sir, can I have another, sir? And by the way, I was never on Epstein's boat, sir. Like it's that only those lawyers will go for it, right? But here, he's got a credible case. I don't know that it's a winning case, but it's credible.
Right.
And he could make that case while upholding and defending the idea that nobody is above the law. But they won't do that. They're acting like merely trying to prosecute him is some kind of miscarriage of justice that allows them to burn the whole thing down. And that's not how it's supposed to work in a nation of laws.
Yeah. Well, you wrote a piece, Trump's indictment is a slap on the wrist, but accountability has to start somewhere. You say this isn't the case of our dreams, but Trump very likely committed these crimes. He should be prosecuted for them, and other prosecutions should follow. And you just said, the spectacle that played out almost entirely behind closed doors, but was still carried on television news like Trump was flying to the moon to be arraigned by xenomorphs. I wondered how long before you got your first nerd reference.
Alien.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah, so to explain this part to us legally, though, Elie, you said the law does not require Bragg to state why he charged Trump with felonies instead of misdemeanors, so he didn't. But Bragg appended a statement of facts to the indictments that maps out his theory of the larger underlying crimes. Bragg alleges an entire scheme that goes far beyond the hush money payment just to Stormy Daniels. That's the main thing we learned, right? That this is broader than just that.
Well, yes and no, Stephanie. Like, what Bragg has to do is a bank shot. To make it go from a misdemeanor, look, criminal bookkeeping, falsifying business records, this is a ticky-tack charge. I think in my piece I called it's the speeding ticket of financial crimes, right? Like, it's what they get you for when they don't have anything else. Now, usually, falsifying business records is a misdemeanor. To make it a felony, you have to argue that he committed those falsifying of business records to cover up some larger crime. Bragg, in his statement of facts, is alleging that the larger crime is this big conspiracy with him, with David Pecker, with the National Enquirer, the catch and kill stuff, and all of that leads to a campaign finance contribution that Trump didn't want to log as of campaign finance contribution and tax evasion. That's the larger kind of felony crime that Bragg is using to elevate the falsifying of business records from a misdemeanor to a felony.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with that, as people will note, is that Bragg ain't charge him with conspiracy or campaign finance fraud or tax evasion. That's significant, right? Arguably, if Bragg had or felt like he could have sustained a charge on those calls, he would have, but he didn't. You'll also note, and we've talked a lot on this show about why we're in this state, but you'll note that the federal government, the Southern District of New York, the federal prosecutors, Merrick Garland's office, they have not charged Trump with conspiracy or campaign finance fraud or tax evasion. So that means Trump is going to be able to argue in court that you are saying that I covered up this larger felony, but there is no larger felony. And we know there's no larger felony because other offices have looked into this and determined not to charge me with any larger felonies, right? So, like, that's an argument. That's a credible legal argument that Trump can make, and we will see what the judge thinks about that, and maybe ultimately what a jury thinks about that.
Well, I'm sure you've heard our friend Joy Reid make the point. Why does it fall to these two right now, looks like local black prosecutors? Why does this fall to Alvin Bragg and to Fani Willis? That literally, she said the DOJ is to protect our federal elections. So I think you make that's the point. You've been making for a long time is where is the DOJ?
Mm-hmm. Look, Stephanie, as you well know, Merrick Garland don't take my calls.
That's what I've heard.
I would like Merrick Garland to answer my questions, but he won't return my phone call. Somebody needs to ask Merrick Garland, and hopefully before he writes his book, why his office has not charged Trump with these crimes. We know that the federal investigators in SDNY have the evidence against Donald Trump for these crimes. We know that because, I'm old enough to remember when Michael Cohen went to jail.
Right.
Federal jail.
Yeah.
Michael Cohen was not prosecuted by the Manhattan DA's office. Michael Cohen was prosecuted by federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. So they have the evidence that what Michael Cohen did and who Michael Cohen says instructed him to do that. Now, Cy Vance is on TV, so the former Manhattan DA, the one before Bragg.
Yep. He's
been going on TV, and full disclosure, I don't trust Cy Vance as far as I can throw him, and I don't have the upper body strength that I did in my youth, right? So But Cy Vance is running around saying that he was told directly to stand down by federal prosecutors instead of charging Trump on these crimes earlier, right? So again, why haven't the federal prosecutors, Damian Williams, the current USAO for SDNY, why haven't federal prosecutors charged them? You want to say that under Bill Barr just wouldn't let them? Okay. But then what's Merrick Garland's excuse? Merrick Garland has been in charge since March of 2021. Why weren't there charges waiting for Trump on the Ides of March 2021? And Merrick Garland hasn't answered that question, and I don't think he ever will.
Just making that point while you're using your Afro pick is giving me life this morning. Okay. And here's the next thing is that, I get all whipped up too and, impatient, and then I look at, the Pence story and the story about the documents case that appears like it's, I don't know. I mean, I know Ty Cobb said he thinks the document case he's going to be indicted within 60 days. So are you feeling any hope around the DOJ, any of the DOJ cases?
I mean, Stephanie, have you ever been dumped before?
Yeah. Yes.
Right? Had your heart broken, right?
Yes.
That's where I'm at, right? Like I've been betrayed by Robert Mueller. I've been betrayed by Merrick Garland. Now Jack Smith is like the new girl who's just like, "Hi, Ellie, do you want to come over for coffee?" And I'm like, "No, Jack, I bless you. Leave me alone. I'm not ready to love again, Jack." I'm still like in my, black clothes with the mascara, and Jack's like, "Have some ice cream." "No, Jack, I can't trust you, man."
You're a delight.
Jack Smith is doing what one would do if one was serious about getting these guys. I just don't know that I can trust Jack Smith again because I've tried too many white men in business suits before who looked like they were doing all the things they were supposed to do and in fact were not, right? So yes, I do look, I'm on record, Stephanie, that I do think Jack will indict Trump for something just to justify Jack Smith's existence.
Yeah.
But how serious that charge is, and more to the point, and I've made this point before, the timing of it all right now gets to be very difficult, right? Because we're already in a situation where, I mean, look at the New York case, right? The next court date for the New York case is December 4th.
Yeah.
December. We're in a situation where he has been charged and he will not have to go to court again until December 4th, right on the precipice of the primaries. If Jack Smith charges Trump in 30 days, in 60 days, in 90 days, how long do we get from those charges to an actual trial?
Yep.
Well, we're right into the middle of the primary season at that point.
Yeah.
And remember, the entire Trump legal strategy is not really to defend himself from these charges, because he's not innocent, right? And that's not the goal. The goal is always to delay so that he can get into power again and then basically use the power of the presidency to escape accountability one more time.
Well,
it's basically the Julius Caesar strategy of like trying to never leave office so he can never be sued by Cato the Younger. Like it's the same thing, but Trump is dumber, so it looked like so we don't know if it's going to work as well.
It goes to your point about the first white man that broke your heart, Bob Mueller. Is that it is? But I mean, this porn star payoff was in the Mueller report. So this is all magically full circle in a way that Bill Barr C-blocked that. Obviously. And, I still to this day don't understand why he can't be charged with obstruction like Nixon's attorney general was. I mean, go ahead.
Questions for the current attorney general, right?
Yeah.
Like at some point, Merrick Garland has to answer for what he didn't do. Because we are already at the point where his lack of doing things, again, squishes the timeline to the point where it's unlikely that Trump will be brought to trial before he is the Republican nominee for office. And I will say, and look, nobody's above the law, and I don't think this politics stuff should matter that much, but even for me, as a person who desperately wants to see justice done, it is hard for me to see how you try and potentially convict and jail a major party candidate during the election.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot, and we're put in this situation where we might have to do that. We may have to do the most because of Merrick Garland's failures up to this point. And so I just don't know that that's going to happen.
And shout out to the media. You said Peter Baker actually ran the Trump was indicted. Here's why that's bad for Biden story. What a time to be alive, man.
I called out Peter, so just to let your listeners in, little how the sausage gets made. You don't write the Trump indictment story 2 hours after the indictment, right? You kind of have that. You pre-write those stories, right? It's kind of like if you ever remember the old Saturday Night Live, Gerald Ford died in a plane crash. Like you just have all these like B-roll clips of like Donald Trump was indicted for tax evasion. Donald Trump was indicted for killing his dog. Like you have all those stories kind of in the can. So in my pre-write for the indictment story, I called out what Peter Baker would eventually write because it's so obvious how the media tries to carry water for this man. Like at some point, the New York Times, Peter Baker, Maggie Haberman, Van Jones, they got to figure out why they are so enthralled to authoritarians, right?
Yes.
I said, Van Jones, I've called Van Jones the Tim Scott of Maggie Haberman's, right? Like he is so desperate to like be invited to the Trump bar mitzvah that he will literally go on TV and cry, it's just a grandpa that's being incarcerated today. No, Van, he ain't even being incarcerated. And please have Trump take the Pepsi challenge. I promise you, he cannot name all of his grandkids.
Exactly.
I promise you that.
Quickly, not that Van Jones leads directly to the Clarence Thomas story, but my point is, I mean, just real quick, because we're long as usual with you, because reason 6,433, Clarence Thomas should never have been and should not be on the Supreme Court, right? This latest conflict of interest, accepting gifts,
vacations, and where. And remember, the critical thing here is not that he just accepted these bribes, essentially. Is that he didn't disclose them on his financial forms.
Right.
If I've written, if Sonia Sotomayor got a bottle of nail polish from L'Oreal, she would have to disclose it on her financial forms. And if she didn't, Jim Jordan would have her impeached.
Yep.
So of course Clarence Thomas should be held accountable for his failure to disclose. Now, I don't think that these people are buying Clarence Thomas's vote. I think Clarence Thomas is actually that crazy and like would vote this way regardless of how much money he's making off of it. But the fact that he didn't disclose this is the definition of public corruption, and so he should be impeached.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so who's up for a great bottle of wine? Well, according to a recent survey, about 62% of the country is ready to raise a glass. But how do we decide what it is that defines a great wine when all of our palates are so uniquely different? Imagine a fun and interactive process that actually takes your preference into consideration, allowing you to create, design, and even package a wine that's right for you, your event, or clientele. Welcome to Blentique Wine Company, and welcome to your wine. Blentique invites you to participate in a revolutionary new process whereby the everyday consumer can create and design a personalized wine blend from the comfort of home. Whether blending is an individual, date night activity, wedding party, or restaurant tour, our one-of-a-kind system helps put the power of creativity back into the only discerning palate in the room that matters, yours. Welcome to Blentique Wine Company, and welcome to your wine.